Been a couple of weeks, I know. Been pretty busy IRL, but I'm back at it again because the Rebirth of Glory mini expansion cards are finally being revealed. So let's talk about the ones that have been shown so far. So starting off with Tista, Wings of Mercy, new Havencraft Legendary follower, 3 play point 3/3 that evolves into a 5/5. No unevolved effect, but the evolve effect here is that it gives your leader, during your turn, whenever a follower is added to your hand from anywhere but your deck, give that follower +1/+1, not stackable and lasts for the rest of the match, which is really quite solid in terms of giving you stronger fairies from Fairy Circle, and I think most relevant, especially in Havencraft right now, is that if you Nature's Guidance or otherwise bounce your Whirlwind Rhinoceros, it gains that +1/+1 buff as far as I understand the effect. So pretty cool card, solid body just as a 3-drop already, and then if you can spare an evolve, you can really start getting your Rhinoceros plan a little bit easier, especially in rotation. Moving on, got May Eager Elf, the Sniper Elite is back. 1/1/1 gold. Invocation, when you have played your 4th card this turn, put this card from your deck into play, then return it to your hand. Fanfare, if at least 4 other cards were played this turn, deal 4 damage to a random enemy follower. So it's really upgraded from the 1 damage it used to do to the 4 damage it does now, but of course you have to get the 4 other cards played. What's interesting about the card though is that you can essentially tutor it if you play a bunch of cards in a turn and then have a 1 play point removal option that turn as well for a really crazy swing. On that turn, of course, it requires you to have 1 empty board space. I guess that's because that's how Invocation works, like it has to get on the board. They can't just add it to your hand, I guess. But it adds a balance to it, which I find interesting. But if you're playing like a Roach deck, then this could be a really interesting add into that as well, because you're bouncing your Roach a lot, right? Roach costs 1, Nature's Guidance costs 1, Fairies cost 1, and it doesn't seem unreasonable to me that you'd be able to get 4 cards played, get a May out, and then it could even maybe clear a ward for your Roach to go through. I think these are interesting cards to buff the Rhinoceros archetype in rotation, and hopefully it leaves the unlimited version alone and not make it any stronger than it already is. Moving on, we have the Everlasting Castle, 0 playpoint Swordcraft Legendary Amulet. Fanfare, use X playpoints to put a random follower that costs X playpoints from your deck into play. X equals your remaining playpoints. At the end of your 10th turn or later, summon a Steelclad Knight. Of course, Steelclad Knight is the 2 playpoint 2/2 follower. Versatile, and it can also tutor out the new card, the Honored Front Guard General, which I think is actually in this card art, which is kind of cool. Downside, obviously, is that it's a permanent amulet on your board that just takes up a space, and the benefits of having that amulet on your board don't show up until the 10th turn, where it really just summons 2/2s, not impactful. The Fanfare effect is, of course, very good, but I don't know if it's worth having this brick on board that, at the end of the day, the payoff isn't even that strong, right? Outside of traditional mid-range Swordcraft style gameplay, though, this could be a pretty amazing tutor for Ambush Swordcraft, which has been seeing a rise in popularity as of late, to basically guarantee a Leod or other Ambush follower for you to be able to buff. So watch out for that, for sure. Moving on, Honored Front Guard General. It's like a retrain of the original Front Guard General, but I think better because it has can't be targeted by spells and effects, and it summons a Shield Guardian, and use it +X+X, which is the number of times that you've evolved allied followers this game. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it can't be targeted by enemy spells and effects makes it way more effective than the previous one, I think. You know, protects it from Fiery Embraces. I believe it even protects it from Octruses, right? So your Shield Guardian's pretty much guaranteed to come out. Really solid card, especially in limited formats, but I think it might even be good enough in Constructed. Hope it'll see play, at the very least. Got the Golem Squad, new Runecraft Legendary. If this card has been spell boosted 5 times or less, summon a Clay Golem and a Scrap Golem. 6 to 11 times, summon a Guardian Golem and a Clay Golem. 12 times, summon an Ultimate Clay Golem and a Guardian Golem. And the Ultimate Clay Golem can evolve for 0 evolution points. Evolve, give your leader the following effect whenever an allied Clay Golem comes into play. Transform it into an Ultimate Clay Golem. I mean, if you just run it in spell boost, you have 3 Conjure Golems. It is just a spell that gives you board presence, and each time you do, you at least get a ward up. So I can definitely see it being played. Spell boosting 12 times is quite a lot, though. But if you get a Ryo out and then can get the Golem Squad after, it's way easier. And the Ultimate Clay Golem is kind of awesome. Aila Devoted Knight, 6/4/4. Fanfare, gain an empty play point orb and recover 3 play points. Evolve if you have at least 6 play points. Use 6 play points and summon a Devoted Dragon. Reduce damage to this follower to 0 while an allied Devoted Dragon is in play. Here's Mr. Dragon. I'm upset that they didn't call it Mr. Dragon. 6/6/6, gain Bane and Ward while an allied Ayala Devoted Knight is in play. So you get this effect essentially on 9 play points. If you do that, then you essentially have 12/12 stats that can trade in one and has Bane and Ward, which is pretty awesome. Ramping twice into 6 would be the best way to play this, I think, probably. You ramp on 2 and then you ramp the next turn with 4 into 6 the next turn. I think this kind of fits into a ramp curve. I think Dragoncraft really does need a lot of help in the current meta right now, so I'm glad to see that it's getting cards that are pretty good. Hopefully, this is enough to push Dragon at least into playability. Moving on, we get Ian Dragonbuster, the freaking mad lads printed a guy who literally marries a dragon. Choose, change this follower to an Ian and Adele newlyweds or summon an Adele jealous dragon. I think this is actually Adele Tower Warden, right? So she's coming back, I guess. Ward Drain. Evolve, return all allied followers to your hand. This is interesting. I'm not really sure what this is trying to combo with, but it's an okay follower. It's a 4/3/3 with Ward and Drain. Have a defensive play on that turn. Not incredible, but it's fine. And then Adele Jealous Dragon is one I'm more interested in because the Ian, of course, has the evolve effect of dealing 3 damage to an enemy follower. So you summon the Adele, and it has the last words of dealing 2 damage to all allies, right? So it's a pretty interesting way to do AoE. You can summon the Adele, you can ping off the Adele and clear the board, or you can even just clear a 5/5 with Ian. So to say they have a 5/5 and a bunch of small guys, you play the Ian, use the evolve effect to hit the 5/5, and then you just trade into the Adele, because you're at a 5/5 and the Adele is at a 3/3, and then you would clear the whole board then as well. So I think it's a really interesting way to implement AoE for Dragoncraft, which I'm pretty happy about. Moving on, we have Sword of Arcane Fist, 2/2/2, Necromancy 4, gain +2/+2, evolve, deal X damage to an enemy follower, X equals this follower's attack. A 2 play point 4/4 is pretty good. The removal effect of this requires an evolve to deal 5 damage. Is that worth it compared to, say, an Orthrus? Fulfills kind of the same niche. It's more flexible in terms of stat line and cost, but of course the additional caveat of having to spend an evolve point to get the effect off. Still, though, it can be a pretty great 2-for-1. I just don't think it's what Shadowcraft needs right now to become playable. Okay, so the next one is Spawn of Exile. Oh boy. This guy's back. 8/6/7, accelerate 2, summon a Voice of the Abyss, ambush. If ambush is active for this follower when on attack, summon 3 Voice of the Abysses. If ambush is active for this follower when attacks on evolve, summon 4 Voice of the Abysses, and Voice of the Abyss is 2/1/2 with ambush. Strike whenever this follower attacks, gain +1 attack until the end of the turn. So it's a big ambush guy that summons more ambush guys. This can be pretty annoying because ambush is kind of hard to deal with, unless you're, of course, playing with Technolord or Cal or something like that. Can remove the Voice of the Abysses pretty easily. And the Spawn of Exile itself, it's a big body, but you're playing it on 8, and then it's kind of a tempo loss. They can Technolord it down or something like that. Maybe you get the Spawn to attack after essentially having a really low tempo turn 8, and then your Spawn gets traded into, and then your Voices of the Abyss can be dealt with a Cal. Pretty clunky. Vengeance is active for you, recover 2 evolution points. I'm glad this costs 6, because I think if it costed any lower, it would be amazing. But because it costs 6, it's a little bit cumbersome. Of course, getting Vengeance active isn't that difficult, because you have, you know, Lycos Berserker and Azazel and all that. I don't really think this card is necessary for Bloodcraft right now. Also, it's called Shadow Devil, but it's in Bloodcraft. Hello? Laelia, Saint of Peace. Laelia's back, man. 2/1/4. At the end of your opponent's turn, destroy all followers. Evolve, gain ambush until the end of your opponent's turn. At the end of your opponent's turn, destroy all followers. It's freaking Doomsayer from Hearthstone. Yes. Yes. Yes, although the stat line of Laelia is a lot easier to deal with than Doomsayer, because you can just evolve a 2-drop and take care of it, which is kind of a bummer. If you want this to be more or less surefire removal, you'd have to evolve it. Of course, Technolord answers it, but you'd feel really bad committing a Technolord just to take out a Laelia, unless you were already super ahead. For Havencraft, this could be a really great option early on. You just play this, and the opponent can't really develop on their next turn, really, unless they're playing, like, Spell Boost or something, and then, you know, you're kind of feeling silly for playing Laelia, but I love Doomsayer in Hearthstone, and I love Laelia Saint of Peace in this game. So my PC just ran into a whole bevy of technical difficulties, so it's now much later in the day. Hopefully it's okay now. Anyway, Orcas Linked Heart 755, new Portalcraft Legendary. In true Orcas fashion, it is very wordy. Choose, summon Aloyd the Android or a Marionette Uno. Whenever an allied Lloyd the Android comes into play, give it +2/+2. Whenever an allied Marionette Uno comes into play, summon a Marionette Due. Evolve, transform a puppet in your hand into a Marionette Tray. Lloyd the Android is a 3/1/4 with Ward and Spell Ward, of course. Marionette Uno, 1/1 with Ambush. Due, 4/3/2 with Storm, and it can combine with the Uno to become a Marionette Tray, which is a 6/3/3 with Storm and can attack twice. I think the Lloyd the Android option is pretty good, because you get a 5/5 and a 3/6 in front of it. The Marionette Tray is a lot less appealing once you realize that it's 6 play points. I know some people are trying to meme it using the spell that you get from Shin to buff your Marionette Tray and do a ton of damage, but that's a 10 play point combo that requires you to evolve 2 things. The Marionette Due option is more aggressive, but I don't think it's as impactful unless you're just wanting this to create more bodies to count on your Lashana. I think it's an okay card that can be used to count down your Destruction in Black, Destruction in White, while being able to be defensive or offensive depending on what you want to do. It's a lot less build-aroundy compared to the other Orcas, but I still think it's an alright card. Hamza, Hallowed Foul, 3/3/3. Fanfare. If an enemy follower is in play, changes follower's attack and defense to XY. X and Y are equal to the attack and defense of a random enemy follower. Card is trash, because if they have a gigantic follower and a small follower, this has a chance of being that small follower. In Unlimited, if you want something for tilting at windmills, why not just use the original Hamza, which is more reliable. Finally, we have the new Havencraft Legendary, revealed by Potwasher of Team Tempo Storm. Destiny Wing Knight, 1 play point 2/2. Havencraft Legendary follower at the end of your turn. If there are at least 2 allied amulets in play, gain +1/+1. At the start of your turn, if this follower's attack or defense has not been increased by a spell or effect, destroy this follower. So, I was a little worried when I saw the stat line at first, but then I read the effect. Obviously, you want to get the first effect off here, or buff it by some other means. It also loses the destroy effect when you evolve it, but evolving this just to lose the destroy effect is a little weird. Of course, what you could do is just buff it with Ilana, or, more interestingly, you can buff it with Elysian Saint Hairs as well, which I really like. I feel like this would be most easy to use consistently in Ilana, because you'd have the Golden Bell and Ilana's Prayer, as well as the fact that you can buff it with Ilana's Prayer. That's something that they actually mentioned in this article, which goes really in-depth, and I'll encourage you to check it out if you want to read more about this card and its potential applications. My hope is that this card is going to be used later on in maybe a more aggressive style Havencraft deck, because right now, even though it probably works best in Ilana, I don't really see it being that necessary to that deck. It doesn't really advance the whole healing thing. If you run it in like an Amulet style deck, with some aggression in it, maybe in the future, that'd be cool. But right now, in a world where Ilana is dominating, I don't really see this being super impactful for Havencraft. Naturally, they revealed another card while I was editing the video. Veer Dollslayer, 2 play point 1/2, Portalcraft Gold card. Bane, whenever an allied puppet comes into play, if you have at least 2 play points, use 2 play points to transform it into a Dollslayer. Last words, transform a random allied Dollslayer into a Veer Dollslayer, and a Dollslayer is a 2 play point 1/2 with Ambush. I don't think this is that good. 2 play point 1/2 with Bane, it's okay. The fact that you have to pay 2 play points whenever you want to summon a Dollslayer is it's kind of hefty for a 1/2 with Ambush. It does give this Veer some really strange and interesting kind of survivability in that it can essentially res itself by transforming one of your Dollslayers that are in ambush into it, and then if you attack with the Dollslayer, you lose the opportunity for that to potentially happen, because then your opponent can trade your Dollslayer and then your Veer Dollslayer to play around that last words effect. But the fact that it's a 2 play point 1/2, that you have to pay more 2 play points every time you want to summon a 1/2 with ambush, I think the cost is a little bit too high for this, and the payoff of just having a Bane that keeps coming back, I don't think the payoff is worth the price of admission. And there you have it. Those are the mini expansion cards that have been revealed thus far. I'll make another one when the rest are revealed, so stay tuned for that. But that's it for this video. Like it if you did, don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Shadowverse content in the very near future. Let me know what you think of these cards in the comments down below. Was I right? Was I wrong? What did I miss? Thank you very much for watching, and of course, thank you to my wonderful patrons, patreon.com/Ignideus if you'd like to support the channel as well. I would highly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.